So you want to be a filmmaker, but I thought you wanted to like survive. Movies. Good luck with that. But I thought you liked food. These are basically all the responses that I got when I told people in high school that I wanted to make videos for a living. And I remember being so confused because in my head, the entertainment industry was worth trillions of dollars, so surely there was a couple 100,000 just lying around for me, right? And now in 2019, nearly 3 years later, I can call myself a working filmmaker. And I was right, a couple 100,000. No, I'm joking, but I've been in this filmmaking journey for about 3 years now, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to share my experience with some of you guys who might still be back where I was in high school. So our journey starts a long time ago in the early 2000s with this guy. This is a Sony digital handycam, 120 times digital zoom, not even optical, and it records to VHS. Some of you guys might not even know what that is. But I remember being 10 years old and running around my neighborhood filming on this thing with some of my friends. It has a flip out screen, Sony. Something you don't even do now. What gives? But anyways, with this little guy, this is where I discovered my love for visual storytelling. But as a 10-year-old, I never really understood that there were careers built off the backs of these guys, and so I threw my hopes and dreams into sports, like most middle school kids do. I became a soccer player, learned everything about the game, and I was so destined to become a professional athlete. Then I realized way later than I should have that I loved junk food way too much and I hated running. And so going into my senior year of high school, I really had no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so I just decided to become a doctor, as you do. I really liked psychology, and I learned that psychiatrists are basically psychologists that make more money because doctorate. And so I applied to Xavier University, which is one of the best schools in the country for your undergraduate if you want to be a doctor. And I went on with the rest of my senior year, which basically meant I did nothing. That is until senior projects rolled around, which basically meant that we got exempt from finals for doing whatever we wanted. We just had to prove that we learned something in the process. But as an exploring 18-year-old that still wasn't sure about being a doctor, I decided to take this as an opportunity to do something that I really was passionate about, writing. I had always written a bunch of narrative short stories growing up, but never in the form of a script, and I decided to do it. And so I wrote my first screenplay that was about 30 pages long, and for our project, we decided to film a trailer. And it was all right, I guess.
Do you ever feel like you're so close to the pieces that you're missing the bigger picture?
This could be your chance to make things right.
Tell Marvin about something.
It doesn't make sense.
Wake up and face the reality, Marvin.
Who are you?
But it was the first time I told a story through a camera as an adult with any other purpose other than just goofing around with my friends. And I really liked it. So I stored that in the back of my mind, graduated, and started going to college. And my first counseling session scared the crap out of me. I was told to drop all the fun creative classes that I enrolled in and take a bunch of high-level anatomy and biology classes instead. So I went home, talked to my dad, and told him that I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. I wanted to make movies. Yeah. Now my dad is a COO of a payment processing company, so as you can imagine, he didn't really like that. But after a lot of persistence and persuasion, he was in. So I switched my major from psychology to digital innovation for film and television and finished my first semester. And I hated it. It was just a broad media degree and I felt like I was wasting my time on gen ed requirements, so I decided to look at other schools. I ended up talking to the department chair of the University of Xavier's film department, but I just decided I didn't want to deal with the educational route. I decided to take the next semester off and just write. And I did. I wrote a feature film in 3 months and it was one of the most brutal things I've ever put myself through. Seriously, if you want to be a writer, try writing every day for 3 months and see if you still like it at the end of it. This brings us all the way to March of 2018 when I found out my parents decided they wanted to move to Phoenix, Arizona. I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio. I didn't have any other family in Cincinnati, so I decided to follow them. And it was one of the best decisions of my life. Truth be told, I kind of missed the structure of school. So when I got to Arizona, I applied to ASU and did one more semester as a digital media major. And I remembered why I hated school to begin with. So I sat down with that department chair and he gave me some of the best advice anyone has ever given me in my entire life. And dude, if you're watching, thank you. He basically told me if I didn't like gen eds and I wanted to get hands-on, to go to Scottsdale Community College. And in just 2 semesters at that school, I have learned more about storytelling and filmmaking than I have in my entire life. But surprisingly, that's still not where any of my opportunities have come from. Believe it or not, they've actually come from my church. See, when I moved here, I didn't have any friends or anything like that, so I just got involved in church and I quickly became friends with one of the media guys. So I just started helping out on all the projects and wasn't getting paid or anything like that, but it was important because I was starting to develop a body of work. Whether it was a music video or a promo, I could put my name on all those projects. And before I knew it, people started to notice my talent. And then in March of this year, my first freelance opportunity came up. Our head pastor's wife, who just so happens to also be the director for kids ministries for the entire state of Arizona, reached out to me to be the videographer for Kids Camp. So I invested in my first camera, the Canon 80D, and I did 3 weeks of video production. Kids Camp was basically a 3-week crash course in editing, and it was awful. She wanted a recap video every single day, which means I shot that entire day and then I edited that night, and then repeat for 3 weeks. But it was super important because that was my first professional video gig. And by the time I got back in July, between all the projects I had done at the church and all my videos from camp, I had a pretty solid reel. And then weird stuff started happening. People began to reach out to me for other projects. One of the security guys at our church actually owned his own gunsmithing business and hired me to do commercials. At the same time, my dad was showing my work to one of his coworkers when the head of marketing saw it. And I ended up doing commercials for a $2 billion company. So as of today, September 25th, 2019, I can officially call myself a working filmmaker. Now, does that mean I'm working on Hollywood movie sets and making blockbuster films? No. But I'm getting paid for doing the thing that I love, telling stories through a camera. What more can you ask for? And if you're an aspiring filmmaker watching this, I think that's my biggest question for you is, if you're not working on a Hollywood movie, is that okay? Are you just as happy being behind one of these as you are behind a $10,000 setup like the one in front of me? Because I am. And I think that's why I've been able to stick with this for so long. Because there's a lot of discouragement, and there's a lot of disappointment, there's a lot of no's. But if you truly believe that your passion is filmmaking, then you'll make it happen. And the sooner you start that process, the better. It doesn't matter what equipment you have, it doesn't matter what kind of opportunities you're getting now. Just find a place to start. For me, it was in my church. Maybe it's at a local business. This industry is huge, and the opportunities are immense. Every business, every company, everyone is leaning more and more towards visual media, and they need people to produce it. Whether it's for Instagram, whether it's for Facebook, it might not be on a TV or a movie screen, but it's everywhere. And that's where you come in.